Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Andrew with Disarrange. I'm out here shooting today with Neptune's Plumbing and Heating in a residential neighborhood. We're going to be replacing some galvanized water lines for a property management company we partnered with. Think of your pipes as arteries, and this galvanized pipe, or artery if you will, is pretty clogged. This is a big problem in these old residential homes. Neptune's Plumbing and Heating will partner with your property management team to keep your properties up and running. If you want professional, reliable service in your residential book of business, give Neptune's a shot. All the information you need to know to contact Dan and crew will be in the bottom and the comments. Thank you so much, guys. Peace. What is going on, my friend? How are you?
Dude, watching you on, well, sometimes watching you is painful, but definitely watching you on commercials is one of the worst things in the world.
Well, I'm glad that I am providing some sort of entertainment value.
Hey, bud, how are you? It's good to see you.
I'm doing well, man. I don't know what it is. The past couple weeks we've been fine, right? The past 2 nights we've been talking about the show, getting everything prepped and ready. No issues, right? Zero technical issues.
Right.
4.5 minutes ago, my whole system crashes and I'm scrambling around trying to make coffee and make sure everybody's good. And it's a mess. How's your week, my friend?
Good. It was a long week, a little tired, but yeah, it was good. It wasn't too bad. And Friday's here. That's always good. So
it was a long week for me at work. We finally got our new CRM in. So it's been a lot of data entry, which hasn't been the best and the coolest part of the job, but it's essential to what we do. So I agree with the long week. But today I wanted to share a video and I couldn't upload it for whatever reason. Maybe that's why my whole entire system went wacky. But
you couldn't even get your computer to work there. So
I have no idea why, but we ended up going. We got taken out charter fishing today for work.
Okay.
So I literally got paid today to go out and just reel in hogs all day with the boys. Is it
hogs or fish?
Well, so I think the kids call big fish hogs. So
the kids? Do you have a bunch of kids out there fishing?
When I say the kids, I'm saying like the cool, popular generation of youngsters. You got me?
Which you are not.
Okay, let's relax. Let's not get into the age thing. So, you got anything else for me before we get going, bud?
No, I'm ready. Let's rock and roll through the current events and then get to our guests. I'm really excited. So
awesome. Well, everybody, thank you very, very much for joining us. Welcome to Disarrange, your one-of-a-kind talk show where a healthy network is a strong network. I'm your host, Andrew Turner. Joined with me is my battle buddy and co-host, Matthew Gardner. And we make up the best Disarranged show out there. So we appreciate everybody joining us from wherever you are, whether it's live or at your leisure. But Matt, why don't you take us into some current events tonight?
Okay, so really I just have one, and we're going to talk about the Army standards. What this is about is there's a major problem right now with retention and also recruiting in the Army. I can't speak of Marine Corps and the other branches, but I know for a fact right now it's the Army. So what they're doing right now, because they're having such bad retention issues and such bad recruiting issues, is that they decided to drop 2 major categories specifically and take the people who are struggling in those 2 categories and put them into 2 different programs. Do you want to take a wild guess of what they are?
So when to clarify for our guest, for our listeners, what do you mean by when you say they took and lowered 2 things?
Okay, so there's standards per candidate for recruits or reenlistment. You have standards you have to meet, right? So whether it's height and weight, whether it's your intelligence, physical abilities, whatever it is, shooting, whatever. I don't know what the Army standards are. I can't speak of that. But the 2 major ones that they decided to change or lower are ones that the Marine Corps deals with as well. So the first one, and I'm sure everybody, you want to give a guess what it is?
It has to either be something with the ASFAB, like lowering the standards of scores,
Right.
and or something to do with overweight soldiers.
Well, you just hit both of them. So there it is. Ding ding ding. Winner winner. So yes, they. So let me look at these stats because I want to get them correctly. I don't want to mess this up now. Now, new enlistees who exceed body fat standards by as much as 6%. And if you don't know what 6% body fat is, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot. All right. So they will be placed into a training program for 90 days that includes exercise and dietary training. I would say maybe something you want to do before you try to enlist into the military, but that's okay. Every 3 weeks, the recruit may have their body fat measured, and they need to get down to the Army's 2% body fat limit. So they have 90 days for that. Okay. So that's one program.
Okay.
All right. Now, the other program is, like you said, the ASVAB. For those of you who don't know what the ASVAB is, it is a collection of tests, cognitive, math, science, English, basically to see where you're at mentally. So you have to score a 31 to place in a job in the Army.
That is as of right now, before any of these new.
Have to score 31. I don't remember what it was in the Marine Corps, and I'm not going to tell you my ASVAB score, and I don't want to know yours. So
I put my name on it, bud.
Okay. So you have to score 31 in the Army. Now they lowered it to 21. If you score a 21, now I think this is maybe like the SATs, where if you write your name, you probably get 10 or 15 for this. I don't know. But 21, if you score 21, they will put you in a 90-day program. Basically, it's 30. Oh, thanks, St. Val. 31 for all branches. Okay. So yeah, they'll put you in a 90-day program basically, and then they will allow you at the end of that program, just like the physical fitness portion, to retest out, right, and try to make it. So
let me ask you a quick question, man. The research that you're doing, every time that you said two words that kind of sparked my interest. You said programs. Now anything in the military with me and the word program has a dollar amount to it. Is this costing the government any type of extra funds
Yes. So they're projecting that these two programs are going to cost about $4 million
each.
Yes, for the year, total for the year. So
we spend millions of dollars a year on training warriors, and we're going to spend an extra millions and millions of dollars to then segregate the weaker group, to then lower their standards to get them to be able to retain retention in the Army.
They have to meet those numbers, and that's what I'll get to next is some of the numbers that the Army is looking at. What they're projecting is that in their total numbers, they're going to have about 2,000 recruits per program coming in annually, funneling into these different programs. So right now, as it sits, thanks, Nate. Good to see you too, brother. Right now, as it sits, the Army is at 466,400 soldiers. What they're projecting with their struggles right now is that they're going to be down to 452,000 soldiers by the end of the year. So
that doesn't seem like a big swing in numbers, but the Army's always had high numbers, and I don't think that they're used to swinging to that a degree. I personally, I could be wrong, but I don't see that, because I know in the Marine Corps, when we first joined, and you and I, they were doing the big workup, or not big workup, but the big
it was Afghanistan, Iraq.
We went from what was it, 150,000 Marines to 100 or 180 to 200. There was only a 20 or 30,000 troop increase, but that is a lot when you're only looking at 150,000 troops.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
The Army's always had quadrupled the number of the Marine Corps, just because of of each program and each branch and what they're specific for.
Yeah. So I think a good person to talk to with this is probably Nate, the one who commented in St. Val. Recruiters, they probably know, they could break down the numbers and how, but they did say in this article, a big problem is the call to arms right now. And and that's something that we had right when we joined, was the call to arms. 9/11 was big call to arms. If you don't understand what call to arms is a purpose to join, right?
Yep.
Your country needs you for a purpose.
So Aubrey Wren, this year there's 103 allocations for Sergeant Major, the most I've ever seen. What's that say about who's staying and who's leaving? Great point, Aubrey. And he's actually boots on deck right now and actually seeing the numbers behind the scenes. So that's interesting. I think we should revisit this and just to kind of see how it plays out. And the last thing I'm going to say about it, because it kind of pisses me off a little bit that, I don't know. And we talked about this a little bit on Tina's podcast about, the effectiveness of like a fighting force and like why we need Americans to be at the already. And I don't know, maybe I'm too narrow minded. I don't see how this is going to help us. We're training warriors to go to war and do something that less than 1% of the population can handle to do. I don't think lowering standards to make people feel better and make numbers go up, because I think you're just making the quality of warrior making is going down.
Well, to be fair, the Marine Corps did do that during the push. Every branch does it, and they have a quota to meet. So I guess when they look at it, if there's just that small amount of soldiers that they're bending the rules for, and the rest are meeting that, then ultimately they have to meet those numbers somehow, right? But yeah, I mean, to be fair, the Marine Corps did it too during the push. I mean, it happens. So you got to fill those numbers. So.
I mean, all right. I mean, I can see that. I look at the quality over quantity type of thing. So it's interesting. I'd like to keep watching that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's listen, man. So our guest this evening is a unique one. I remember when you came to me. I think you called me probably at work, and you're like, "Bud, I got it. I got someone I reached out to, and she actually." Could you give a brief, I guess, a brief introduction on how we met our guests tonight and how we are where we are right now?
Yeah. So when I saw Tina's page, We the People on Facebook, I like to, because we do a podcast, I like to look at YouTube stuff and TikTok stuff and other military podcasts, just other podcasts, and see how other people do stuff and what they talk about, and how they. I came across Tina, and she's this lady telling these huge stories, and when you see Tina, she's just in stature, she's a small lady, and she's in these big, telling these stories of these big warriors, minus me and you, of course, but these big guys and these big stories. And I'm like, man, this is amazing. Some awesome storytelling on her end. But not only that, it was, why is she doing this? You don't often see somebody who's pushing the narrative to tell the stories of people who want to say how great America is and why they love America. And, Tina is this woman who wants to get this message out and share these stories with people with nothing in return, just the simple fact that she's just a patriotic woman and loves her country. And I'm like, okay, so we need to reach out to her. Sorry, I got a little word mumbled there. I couldn't think of the words, but I wanted to reach out to her and see, hey, look, can we have you on our podcast? Because I want her to tell her story of why she's doing this. I know why we do it.
Right. And what was her initial response?
So her initial response when I reached out to her is, she said, yeah, that'd be great. I'll make you a deal. I'll come do yours if you do mine, and which is, I mean, her doing ours is awesome, but us to go on hers is just the biggest honor, because
it was phenomenal, because what people won't understand is, or what people will understand when they go and research her, is We the People Are American story. All these people on this banner right here, she's interviewed, and there are some actual war heroes. So without further ado, I would really like to bring Miss Tina McCafferty on. Tina, how the heck are you?
Hello, gentlemen. Oh my goodness, you're going to bring tears before we even start. How dare you do that? How are you?
We are doing well. As I can speak for Matthew over there. We're doing great, Tina. How are you?
Good. Hey, before we get started with my story, can
Yes.
I add a little bit to what you were talking about as far
Please.
as recruitment numbers?
Yes,
Yes, please.
absolutely. Floor is
I
yours.
actually have a guest coming on my podcast, and I asked him about the recruitment numbers. He spoke to a recruiter. I had no idea this was even an issue. He told me that this recruiter mentioned that part of the problem is because there are so many kids on anxiety medication now and they won't take them.
Whoa, really? That's interesting. I wouldn't have.
That's what I was told.
I mean, it does make sense. I mean, I know it's a big push. I mean, I know I talk about the VA, but I didn't know while being in that would never cross my mind to be on any type of medication, and maybe that was part of my problem.
There
But
was
that's interesting.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't want them in.
It's really interesting, Tina, because it was taboo when we first joined. That part, like the anxiety meds, that was all kind of taboo, and it changed. I think probably 3 years into my enlistment to where people could start asking for stuff and talking about stuff, and now, like what you're saying, it seems to be a normal thing. I would like to talk to recruiters and get their feedback on it because I'm sure they deal with it every day.
Yeah. There's just way too many, and they don't want to have to deal with it.
So, I mean, just speaking off the cusp on this, Tina, I believe there's got to be a better. I don't know. Whenever I hear things like this, and it's probably a naive statement, and people are probably going to like the way I say it, but I always look at the softening of, like, say, America, or like just our culture in general. I don't understand, like, okay, cool. Like, why aren't we giving other tools other than medications? Obviously now it's affecting our fighting force. So if there's an issues, we got to start looking at non, I don't know,
Pharmaceutical.
non-pharmaceutical treatments to be able to help treat these warriors, but still be mission effective. And so that's crazy. I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing that. That's incredible. We got to look more into that, Matt.
Yeah, we look and see if he was actually telling me the truth or not.
I mean, it makes complete sense. I mean, it sounds like something it would.
I did see a caption in there about that there was medical issues that they're running into with kids who are on lots of medication and who see therapists.
Yep.
So,
it's interesting too that these kids, I feel like people, like when I joined, it was like we were joining the Marine Corps because we didn't want to take the medication and we needed some sort of direction and, and some discipline in our lives. And now the kids have all the medication in the world to help straighten them out, if you will. And then they're still going into the military to, that's crazy. That is very unique. Well, thank you very much, Tina, for sharing that.
Thank you.
I've been looking forward to this part. I was hoping you could just share a little bit about who Tina is, where you come from, how you grew up, and just share with our audience a little bit about your story.
Yeah, I hope I don't disappoint. And I have to tell you something really weird is I'm down in the basement. My husband is over here watching YouTube on our flat screen. So out of the corner of my eye, I can see the little lag and I can see it on the flat screen. It's a little bizarre.
Well, we appreciate the extra view on our screen on this end. So thank you very much for the double view.
And
All
if,
right.
If Andrew can do it, you can do it. So don't.
And feel free to interrupt me at any time with my story if you want me to stop, if I'm too long-winded, if it gets boring, whatever. Hopefully I can keep your attention. But I was born the 5th out of 7 children. Okay. And I grew up in a small community about 20 miles south of Salt Lake City, Utah, by the name of Draper. When I grew up, this town was almost considered rural. It was dairies, there were farms. I grew up down the street from a slaughterhouse.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and I think our claim to fame was the Utah State Prison. The Utah State Prison, which is being moved now, but the Utah State Prison and Widowmaker. Widowmaker We have mountains surrounding us, and it was a hill in Draper on the side of a mountain where motorcyclists would come from all over and try to make it up this steep hill every year. And we would watch from my house with binoculars. You could see it from there. That's what we were known for.
They're pretty rowdy parties, those goers, right?
I never went up to one of those, but we just watched it. I imagine so, but we just looked through them with the binoculars to see it. But that is my childhood. Looking back, I didn't appreciate it at the time, but it was pretty American if you think about an American childhood. It was a small town, kind of idyllic. I grew up in the 70s, so yeah, you can probably date me. And I had a lime green bike with a banana seat.
Do love it. I was just
You know, the banana, mine was a hand-me-down. My little sister and I used to ride all over on our bicycles. She's 2 years younger than me. I don't know how she was able to get the brand new bike, and I got the hand-me-down, the lime green, but it is what it is, whatever.
Right.
You've moved on. You're all right.
You're over it now.
There are no hard feelings, whatever. But coming from a small community, we celebrated every July. We celebrated our independence. We celebrated our heritage. We went to a parade that was held every year. And because it was a small town, my dad knew everybody up on the float. So he's up there waving to everybody, talking to them. We went to fireworks. My mom always brought the Starburst and the red vines. I do have to say that red vines are superior to Twizzlers.
Red vines are superior than Twizzlers.
You don't believe that, Andrew?
I enjoy Twizzlers, but I don't know as if I know what the other ones are.
You don't know what
red vines are?
So here we go again, Tina. Here we go again.
Brother. Where were you?
All right, so yeah, like you, I'm from a very small town.
But we had red vines.
They didn't. They apparently didn't make it past. They didn't make it past the Macy-Dixon line on the East Coast over here. So.
I guess not, but red vines are superior to Twizzlers, I have to say.
Red vines it is.
Red vines. So check out red vines, okay?
You've given me since I've met you, I have a whole list of marching orders that you've given me.
Movies to watch, TV shows, yes. I'm just trying to widen your view of the world. Well, that's all I want to do, Andrew. I want to make you a more well-rounded person.
Thank you. Look at that. That's
But I don't remember my family being overly patriotic. Okay. But I do remember at these parades, my dad took his hat off. He put his hand over his heart. I remember that. I remember growing up when, guess what? Saying the Pledge of Allegiance in school every morning was not something that was controversial. Mm. You just did it. You stood up and you said the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right. No one questioned it.
No one questioned it. It's a different world now. I don't know why, but I have always had a love for America and American history. I think I must have just been born that way. I don't know. But even when it maybe wasn't in the forefront of my head, it was always in the back.
Right.
Okay. I took an AP American history course in school. I graduated with my bachelor's degree and a minor in American history from Brigham Young University. It was always just a part of me. I had 2 small children under the age of 2 at one time. I don't know how that happened. I do know how it happened, but yeah, right. And then a third one came along. I was pretty busy as a mom.
Oh yeah.
I have always had a deep respect for the flag and what that represents. And it has become even stronger as I've grown older.
I can relate to that just coming on my end. Like I feel like I was always patriotic. Again, small town parades, you celebrated, you seen the generation of people that stood and put their hands over their heart. When I joined the military, and I started standing at colors every single day and deploying and seeing in a land that's really not the most pleasant, seeing that those colors fly in a brown, dark, disgusting area. it was something that I mean, I get choked up thinking about it. I love the flag, that those colors, what it represents about our country is phenomenal. And just for somebody that never served their country to kind of be like forced by Uncle Sam's hand to be patriotic, if you will, is that was such the unique thing that we saw when we wanted to reach out to you. And I just think it's super incredible, and it's good for us to see as veterans. We get very narrow minded in terms of like our little world, but there are people out there that are like you and that support this country and support what the like what we stand for. And it's awesome. It's beautiful.
There are more of us than I think we realize, and we just have to stop being afraid and stand up and use our voices. We're so afraid of the backlash today.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I look at that flag, sure, I see those 13 stripes. I see those 50 stars. But that red, especially since I have started my podcast, has been a whole new level for me.
Yeah.
Because for me, the red on that flag represents the blood that was spilt over and over and over again by men and women willing to put everything on the line for their country. We don't get that anymore. We don't understand. We're so comfortable here. And as far as starting the podcast, it probably was, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, where I could see the country turning,
Yeah.
and not in a way that I thought was great. There seemed to be a lot of backlash against the founding fathers about them being evil, and our flag being a symbol of racism and repression. And I didn't get it. And it made me angry because my faith teaches me, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You probably know me as a Mormon, which is what most of you will know. But one of the things that my faith teaches me is that this country is a special place. And I think America, for me, is a very spiritual place, especially when you look back at the history and what we have been through and what we were able to accomplish against all odds. How in the hell did a group of undertrained, undermanned, under everything, ragtag army beat the strongest political force, the strongest military force in the world? How did we do that? There is no conceivable way that we should have won the Revolutionary War. I firmly believe that God's hand was in that.
I
You want to say something, Matt? I can see you go,
No, I just, in the patriotic sense, you know, when Andrew's telling his story, I think about it all the time when I go to a game or graduation or whatever, and the national anthem comes on, and I think I get choked up, you know, and I almost get choked up now just even thinking about it. And that's, you understand what it means. You understand the sacrifice. You understand the pain and everything that goes into what allows us to be able to have that moment. You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
it's just so overwhelming to me. And for you to embody that and want to tell that and share that is, it's such a treat. You know, I'm telling you, you're a blessing. And you touched a little bit on your podcast. So can you take us into, okay, Tina is small town, patriotic, and you started seeing things change. Tell us about the podcast. Introduce it. Tell us how it got started, what started it, all that.
It was purely accidental. I was actually taking an online business course that had nothing to do with America. But one of the homework assignments we were given is, I want you to make a podcast trailer of anything you want. Because one of the things that this woman, her name is Kathy Heller, she's pretty big, but one of the things that she taught us is that a podcast can be the anchor of your business, no matter what your business is. I want you to take what, and I was totally doing something, it was completely foreign to what I'm doing now. It had nothing to do with it.
Right.
And when she said, go ahead and just put a podcast trailer together for whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
I did that. And I just sat there and sat there. And I can't even really tell you, gentlemen, what it was, that pin, that prick, that made me decide, I think I'm actually going to try and do this.
Wow.
I had some help from a friend who had done a podcast. She was great and took me through every single step of doing a podcast.
Did you, as you're like, wow, I think I'm actually about to whoop on a podcast, were you a consumer of podcasts?
A little bit. I watched or listened to Smart Passive Income.
Yep,
You listened to that?
I actually have heard of that one. That's
yes,
funny.
I like him. And I had listened to Kathy Heller, who was the one that I was taking the class through. She has a podcast. And yeah, so I mean, a little bit, but not a whole lot. I don't know. I think it was just the whole part of, I love this country. And right now, excuse my French, it's a shit show.
You're not wrong.
Yes. Say it loud.
I felt like whatever I can do, whatever small part I can play, I want to do it. When I started the podcast, my only criteria was, well, first of all, I decided I'm not going to do the talking like Andrew and Matt. I don't want to do the talking. I want someone else to do it. Therefore, I decided to go with the guest route.
Okay.
That way they do most of the talking. And my criteria when I first started was one thing, and that was you have to love America.
Mm.
And I started off with people around me that I knew, some immigrants in the neighborhood, a couple of people that were in the National Guard. And what happened is I thought, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to start reaching out to people. And Matt and Andrew, I told you this when you came on my podcast. Go ahead and reach out to anyone, because you never know who's going to say yes. And most of the time, if they're going to say no, they just don't respond. So you don't have to face the rejection. I just started reaching out to people who did not know me at all. I received my first wounded warrior. I'm trying to change my vocabulary actually to combat survivor.
Yes.
Shiloh Harris, one of my guests, said, I like to be called combat survivor, was Colonel Greg Gadsden. He was my first wounded warrior or combat warrior. For those of you who may be familiar with his name, he was in battleship. He lost both of his legs. And what's interesting, Matt, is you mentioned that We the People kind of got your attention. Mm-hmm. That's what he said to grabbed his attention was We the People. When he saw that email from me, he came on. And what happened after that, it slowly has morphed into a military podcast. We've talked about this as well. Mm-hmm. I just let it flow where it was going to flow, because the military community is so awesome, so tight-knit, that once I had a veteran on, they started referring other veterans to me. I will still talk to people who aren't in the military. I think that's great. As long as you love America, you are welcome here. Awesome. But it has just been more and more of combat survivors, veterans, and I can't get enough of their stories. They're amazing. And Andrew and Matt are right. The people that have come on my podcast flabbergast me. I don't know how I get them. I don't.
Your lineup of guests, and we haven't been through all of them yet either, is very, very impressive. And we have to say it again, as Matt and I, when we were talking and prepping for your show for the second week in the row, because we had the wrong weekend the first weekend.
Yes, you did. I'm glad it was your mistake, not mine.
Right. It's all good. As we're kicking ourselves in the butt, we're like, first impressions, this is horrible. And he's like,
we're both sitting there all dressed up, ready to roll.
I have done it a few times, so it's okay.
I don't even know where I was going with that, but
you're talking about the lineup and how we were talking.
Oh, it's just impressive. Like, it's just unbelievable. And your tenacity to just be able to reach out and be like, hey, listen, this is what I'm doing. And all you had to do is love America. And if you've got everyone has a story. And that's kind of, where we, with us and how we started this, it necessarily wasn't supposed to be a talk show per se. It was about to come on. We were going to, review some motivational trash online and then just be like, okay, well, this is how it applies to my life, and I wish I could be a better runner. I need more discipline here, and this has been tough in the military. And then, as things morphed and molded, I think to your point, taking that route of just letting it go and kind of being fluid with it and letting it morph into what it was the best decision for us at Disarranged. And it seems like with We the People, it sounds like it's worked out for you.
So far, I
Yeah.
will be beginning season 5. September 2nd is my first episode. I don't do mine live like these two. My first episode for season 5 will go out Friday, September 2nd. But as far as I know that you two like to focus on PTSD or PTS, whichever you like to call it. I know some people go one way or some go another. And if I can bring up a few people that I have had on my podcast,
Of course.
Absolutely. Yeah.
it is absolutely amazing to speak to these warriors and hear them tell the stories. And they are very blunt. I appreciate it. They will tell me every single thing that they remember on the day of their traumatic injury. They will tell me how dark it became. And they will tell me about how they almost took their lives. I have one, Adam Francis. He's a police officer, or was a police officer. I can't remember if he still is. Sorry, I can't remember. But anyway, think about this, because I am starting to speak to more first responders who, oh my goodness, the things that they go through, the things that they see.
Yeah.
But this man decided he was going to kill himself. He was going to shoot himself. He went so far as to, he wrapped himself in a blanket before he did that. Why do you think he did that?
To keep him all together? I don't know. I mean,
He didn't want anybody to have to clean up the mess.
yeah.
He talks about that experience, about wrapping himself up in that blanket, and then for whatever reason at the very last minute, he didn't go through with it. There is someone that I talked to who shot himself in the heart. He shot himself in the heart and he didn't die.
That's incredible.
It's amazing. And what I learned from these people that is so remarkable. First of all, you probably can't see my shirt here. 72 minutes. I'm sure you two know what that means, right? Oh, no, we did this. You didn't know. What? Did you know what it meant? Come on.
I don't know as if I knew the 72 minutes. No.
You don't know.
I think I did. Just give it to us again.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, you don't want to keep playing? Okay. In our country, every 72 minutes, a veteran kills himself or herself.
Okay, I figured it was around the 22 a day or whatever. That makes sense.
It's 22 a day. And I received this shirt from a veteran. She sells these T-shirts. It really touches me and it really hits home when I speak to these people and have them on as guests, because unless you are that less than 1% who go to fight to protect our country, to protect our freedoms, to protect our safety here and abroad, unless you are one of those, you have no idea. You cannot even comprehend what they have seen, what they have experienced, the friends that they have seen die from horrific explosions. I mentioned to you Chris Bustler.
Yep.
Who I recommended, and I hope you will all be able to listen when he comes on their show, because I can guarantee you it'll be just about the best show. Chris Bustler is with a group which I did not even know existed, that many people, even within the military, do not exist. He was with the Marines, with the mortuary affairs.
Mm-hmm.
Chris's job was to go out and collect the remains of these Marines who, guess what? Sometimes you can't even tell where the vehicle ends and the person's body begins.
You had mentioned that the other day when we spoke, and I kind of want to back up a little bit to your one of your first things that you were talking about with the veterans that you've had on, and the, you know, explaining the darkness and the smells and the, when Matt and I got done with your podcast on Saturday, we always do after action reports,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So where we like kind of just review it and be like, all right, because regardless of our journey here on Disarranged, our mission for us individually and selfishly is to continue our pursuit of happiness and try to find where we fit out here in the civilian world, right? When we were talking after the show the other day, like we were both kind of not on edge, but there was something going on, and we were both kind of choked up, and we were just like, dude, that was the first time that we ever tried to explain that our situation to anybody.
Right.
Oh, that means a lot.
In that type of setting, have we talked about it before with other people? 100%. But the way we got into that story and the way you asked it and the setup and everything was the most unique thing, because it made us sit back and truly relive it instead of trying to play host and co-host where other things are moving around. We got to sit back and truly dig deep and be like, oh shit, like I haven't dug this up in a long time. I don't know as if we did the greatest of explaining it, but I wanted you to know firsthand that regardless of how it came out and what we said, it moved us to a point where like, dude, we need to talk about that specific day more and that specific event more into the depths of, I could tell you the smell, I could tell you the sights, I could tell you the sounds, I could tell you all of that. And we were like, shit, like that's what Tina's doing, and she's pulling it out of people. No wonder these guys and these men and women are expressing themselves in such a fascinating way. It must feel good. And so we wanted to thank you. This wasn't planned either to talk about this, but it was cool for us to be able to like break into that scenario a little bit from your questioning. So thank you very much.
Oh, you guys are just I'm gonna be crying after this is all done. I'll try to hold it together.
I'm sitting here trying to hold myself together. Listening to stories, thinking about the one thing that tears my heart open is homeless veterans and veterans that take their own lives. Because I know even if you aren't like the best at your job, I know what you have to go through to even just get to be that small percentage, and then to raise your hand and do all the things you do and go through all the things you go through. And then you come home and, a lot of these guys, their families can't deal with them and they're left alone. And I just, I really appreciate you telling these stories, Tina.
Well, if I may to add one thing, as we're talking about mental health, even today, Joe James, he's a guest that I had on, and he suffered from PTSD. And today on his Facebook, wow, he said, I'm going to be real here. My mental health lately has not been good. I sold a business that I loved, sold my part out to my partner because I can't deal with it anymore. And then he said, if I did not have my wife and children, I might be drinking. He said, I'm not suicidal. And this is a guy who's been on TV. He used to sell, he has incredible company where he would take the uniforms of soldiers and Marines and such, and they would take it out, they would reuse it to make them into bands, and you could put the person's name on a little, I don't know what it was, a little clip or whatever on there. Yeah. But I guess he is really struggling right now, and it breaks my heart because Joe, when you talk to him when he was on my podcast, such a good-natured man, such a good man. Mm-hmm. And they hide it well.
Matt's brought this up several times. How this behavior isn't welcomed. We can speak for the Marine Corps. We're not talking about military in general. I don't know other branches like that, but I can tell you the Marine Corps, those are feelings that needed to be suppressed. It was all about mission accomplishment. It was all about the aggression and attacking your enemy with the most fight and fury that you have in an individual. Now multiply that with 300 Marines and you got yourself a good time, right? Like being able to express these emotions and these feelings wasn't a part of the job. And like we expressed to you about us in the show, being able to be a little creative and try to do a live show every week and learn audio and visual, and that definitely wasn't. It was a point. We were point and shoot weapon. We're ready to go and ready at all costs. So I do want to ask you, because a part of us here at Disarrange, it's important for us to bridge that gap with civilians and veterans, and you are like the best example of what we're trying to do in our mission statement, is to be able to have a network and a program where veterans and civilians can have come into one place and have a safe ground to express themselves. Listen, everybody's got a story. I don't care who you are. Just because you're not a combat veteran, you didn't go to the military, you haven't been shot at, you haven't seen body, none of that matters. Everybody in this world has a story. And so us coming out of the military active duty into civilian, it's important for us to learn that side of it. So with that being said, we've had a great time to get to know you for the last couple of weeks through our processes and emails and calls. But you also have a story also, and you have things in your life that you've been through that might have made it harder for you to adjust getting back into certain things. So not everybody with PTSD is a veteran. If it's okay with you, Tina, I'd really like you to kind of help our audience learn a little bit more of some of the struggles that you've had to deal with in your journey.
Sure. I'm an open book. I have nothing to hide.
I love it.
Whatever. Well, let me start by saying a couple of things. Number one, I married when I was very young. I was 21 when I got married for the first time. Here in Utah, it's changed a little bit now, but in Utah, 21 was really not that young.
I was old.
Yeah, I mean, and this was like 30 years ago. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I got married, and about a year into the marriage, come to find out that my husband was having an affair with a girl. Now, this is where it gets twisted. You're going to love this story, okay? He was having an affair with a girl that he worked with. And this is where it gets
a little hussy.
She was married at the time, had a small child. Her husband had a brain tumor and was going to die. Because he was so worried about leaving her by herself after he died, he would allow my husband to come over. They would go into their bedroom together.
So, okay, so he was cool with
yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I'm tracking.
Yes.
But you weren't.
Well, I'm
you weren't included on that plan, were you?
Yes, I was innocent. And it was funny because he couldn't work. She would go as a part-time job and clean offices and get money. My husband would go and help. And I'd be like, I have the sweetest husband. The best husband. Look at him. He wants to help others. It's so great.
God bless your heart.
So, yeah, that didn't end too good. There's my divorce number one. Divorce number two. So I married shortly after that again, because I think I was worried. He didn't want me. If I don't say yes to this person, I'm going to be by myself the rest of my life. I remember on the day of my wedding, walking down the aisle going, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And guess what? I did it.
Not a girl.
Boy, that's you.
So we got married, but we would fight all the time. We did not get along. And I don't think he had a physical affair, but I am pretty sure he had an emotional, mental one with the girl, and he ended up marrying her, someone that he worked with. So here I am. I'm 23, 24? No, I guess I would have been older than that. I was 26. I was 26, been married twice. They both left me. Boy, I must be a loser. I am hard to live with. Boy, you want to talk about baggage. I had that. I met my third husband.
Here we go.
Tina, you're the best person in the whole
I
world.
love you.
I am not ashamed. It is what it is, right? You just got to own it and move on.
It is. No.
Well, Tina, you're in good company. Like I said, there's on off there we could have a whole conversation about our adventures. But
Well, I met my third husband at work. I
okay,
married him. What, Mike? Like 3 months after we? Yeah. So he's still here. So we're good.
Good job,
Mike.
Mike.
What I learned is that it takes a real man to handle me. And those first two were just complete morons. And I had to marry a real man.
That's
I
right.
married Michael probably 3 months after we met, and we just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary.
All right.
I think we're good. I think we're all right. So I had that going for me. And as Mike would tell you, in the first years of our marriage were hard, because when I was upset or we get in a fight, I would clam up and I wouldn't speak to him for 2 days. All right. So I have that going for me. Then Mike has always been really supportive, and he knew that I had not finished school and I wanted to go. He told me to quit work. He was going to provide for us. We didn't have any children, and to go to school. I had only been going to BYU for about a year when my sister got sick.
Okay.
This was my older sister, Susan.
Okay.
She was diagnosed with breast cancer. She was 36 years old and she was pregnant.
Jeez.
Well, yeah, that was hard. And I don't know. It's weird the way that blessings come, but because I did not have a job and her husband traveled out of town a lot, I would help take care of her. I would take her to her chemos. She had her baby, Jordan, who I don't know if you saw. She just said, "Hey, Tina, you're great," or whatever. She left a little message.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Jordan is healthy and strong, but I would, yep, there it is.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yes. Yeah, there's Jordan. Jordan was born at 33 weeks. They had to take her early. Jordan went through chemotherapy with her mom, went through radiation.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so Jordan was born. She was the star of the NICU. She did not have very many things that they had to take care of, but Susan continued to get sicker. And in the meantime, when this happened, so Susan got sick in the spring of 2001. My mom was having stomach issues. We didn't know what it was. She went to the hospital in September, was there for 3 weeks, and she never came home. Came to find out my mom had advanced stage colon cancer.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So my sister, and think of this, my sister at that point, she was at least a stage 3. She goes to the hospital. We all go to the hospital together. We're there when my mom dies. I can remember Susan at my mom's funeral. You know, Jordan's very small, probably like 2 months old. Susan's there at a funeral, and I know she had to have wondered, when's my time?
That's
Yeah. Oh, and it was right after 9/11. Yes. In fact, here's something funny, because you have to laugh where you can. My mom was in the hospital. Did you hear Mike when he said that was right after 9/11?
I was about to. I was like, "Yo, Mike, get on the screen," but I didn't want to interrupt you. So
Yes, it was. Here's a funny thing, because you have to laugh at, because things, you just have to laugh. My mom was in the hospital during 9/11. She was so drugged up because they were trying to manage the pain.
Yeah.
And I remember 9/11, and this is another thing that is very, that threads through most of my episodes, is 9/11 is the catalyst. You know, this is the catalyst for many of you joining the military.
Yeah.
I remember where I was on 9/11 because I had spent the night with Susan and Jordan at home because Jim, her husband, was out of town. On my way home, I heard on the radio about what was going on. I went home, watched the news for a little bit, turned around, went up to the hospital because we never wanted my mom to be alone. We all took turns going up and being with her because it's scary. Went up there. And on that day, of course, we're all glued to the television. My mom, in her drugged up haze, is looking at the TV going, "I don't know what the big deal is. Airplanes hit buildings all the time," because she just was so drugged up. She had no idea. You have to laugh, right?
Yeah,
Otherwise, you
no
just
doubt.
cry all the time.
Mhm.
So anyway, my sister passed away. My mom passed away September 22nd of 2001. Susan passed away April 24th of 2002. So they died like 7 months apart. Is that 7 months apart?
Mm-hmm.
Jordan was 9 months old when her mom passed away. So she does not remember. She does not remember her mom. And what started then for me is a journey of fear with cancer. Because with Jim gone, I attended a lot of the doctor's appointments with Susan. And I was there. I can remember one particular time being up at Huntsman Cancer Institute, which is a great organization. It's one of the best cancer facilities in the United States. But being up there and her doctor, Dr. Ward, coming out and saying, we need you. I can't remember what the room was called. And I had Jordan in a car seat, like I was hauling her because Susan couldn't walk very well. And he's like, I need you to come back here to this room. And Susan looked at me and she said, that's not good. Anytime they want you to come back to this room, it's because they don't want you out around everybody else. And we went back there and he said, I'm sorry, the cancer has spread to your bones. We need to come up with a new game plan. But I'll tell you what, she was remarkable. She did everything she could. But I spent a lot of time with her. And I think that PTSD became just ingrained in me because I remember her in her bathroom floor at her home, just huddled up and just rocking back and forth saying, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Crying. The first time that she could not give Jordan a bath because she was in so much pain, she just physically could not do it. And I was there for a lot of it. I spent a lot of nights with her. It was heartbreaking. I remember the day that she died and my little sister Charity and I just hugging each other and her husband being on the phone, not understanding. He was talking to his parents, not understanding what had just happened. I became so fearful of cancer. And on top of that, well, this happened. Okay. So I became fearful. I did everything that I could. I would go get my mammogram and they would say, okay. But I tell you, for like 3 days before I would go get my mammogram, I would sit on my couch just watching TV because why do I want to do anything if they're just going to tell me I have 3 months to live? I was sure that was going to happen because to me, with my mom and my sister, when you get cancer, it means you hurt a lot, you get sick, and then you die. And so I was sure I would just sit on the couch and like, well, I'm not going to clean the house. I'm not going to do this. What does it matter? I'm going to die anyway. I would go get my mammogram. It would come back okay. But then 3 days later, I'd say, I'm sure they missed something. I'm sure they missed something. And on top of everything else, I hope it's okay. We're going to talk female things here. We're all adults, right? Right,
Absolutely.
gentlemen? We're all adults.
Absolutely. Hit us with
Okay. Well, I have very dense breast. Okay. Mike's laughing. Hey, it's real. Did you hear my 2 girls laughing too? They're like, it is what it is. Isn't this what you appreciate about me?
Yeah, I love the transparency, and I love the fact that you have a live audience at your house.
Did you hear Mike? He said I have dense breasts too.
Dude, I love Mike.
Anyway, I have dense breasts. Okay. And so they tell you that when you get a mammogram, it's like looking for a snowflake in a blizzard. Well, how is that supposed to make you feel good? Okay. Well, what ends up happening is time goes by. 2015, my dad dies of an enlarged heart.
Jesus.
2 years later, my younger sister, Rebecca, I cannot tell you, Andrew and Matt, how pissed off I was at her. She said, Tina, will you go to the doctor with me? My breast has a bruise on it. I'm sure it's an infection of some sort. We go there. The doctor looks at it. I see it. And Rebecca, my older sister, Julie, younger sister, Charity, always say, Rebecca was not meant for this world. She was just la, 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 whatever, you know? Mm-hmm. And she's like, it's an infection, right? And the doctor said, you know what? That looks a lot like cancer.
Oh my God.
And I remember she said, when was the last time you got a mammogram? And Rebecca said 2 years ago. I was so pissed off. I looked at her and I'm like, Rebecca, what the hell are you doing? Susan died from breast cancer and you did not go get your mammogram. Well, unfortunately, came to find out she had inflammatory breast cancer,
Jesus.
which is it spreads very quickly.
It's aggressive.
It's very aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
She's married, has 2 small children, and Rebecca passed away a little over a year after that. Charity and Julie, my sisters and I, we were able to take her. We wanted to take her to Switzerland so bad because that's where my grandma's from.
Okay.
We wanted to take her for a once in a lifetime trip. She was too sick. We took her on a cruise to Hawaii. We did not know how sick she was. I think it was 3 to 4 weeks after we got back, she passed away.
Oh my God. Oh my
So
God.
now you can guess I'm absolutely petrified.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not good.
Yeah.
So I'm doing a mammogram. Then 6 months later, I'm having a breast MRI. And I have to do that every 6 months. And of course, that 6 months rolls around and I am peeing my pants.
Mhm.
I'm sitting on the couch,
Yeah.
not doing anything because I'm sure they're going to tell me I'm going to die. So what's the point? I finally go and see a cancer specialist. They do all these tests. And guess what, guys? BRCA is not as common as you think it is. My tests come back, they can't find a gene. But because I saw a cancer specialist and because of my sisters, she says you have about a 60% chance of getting breast cancer in your lifetime. It's going to go up as you get older.
Oh my God. What?
I'm petrified. Because I think there's got to be a gene there because both of my sisters were premenopausal. They were young. I'm petrified. They told me, we think that your insurance should pay for you if you get a double mastectomy.
Okay.
Guess what? That's what I did. I went and had a double mastectomy about 4 years ago.
Okay.
A double mastectomy, reconstructive surgery. And I guess for PTSD, what I learned from that, because it was horrible. And you can ask my husband if he were to come on. He was always trying to reassure me, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine.
Yeah.
The thing about PTSD, as much as you can, I think you need to take control of it.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Now, do you think that your experiences and your experiences with PTSD, fast forwarding all these years, and now you're a couple years into your show, do you think that connecting with veterans with PTSD, do you think that there's do you think that helps you cope with some of your things to hear other people with, extreme issues?
I know you want me to say yes.
No, I want you to be honest. I'm always I'm curious, right? Like I want to.
Well, my PTSD is, it's gone now. I don't even worry about it anymore because now I have like a 1% chance because there is a slightest chance that they've left a little bit of tissue in. I don't even worry about anymore. Colon cancer, I never worried about because that's so controllable. As long as I've had like 5 colonoscopies. I go every 5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a slow grow. They catch it. It's a slow grower. Yep.
Yeah.
The thing that I can connect with, not to the extent that a lot of them can. In fact, Matthew Bradford, a Marine that I told you about, the no legs, no vision, no problem, just comes right out and says, I love America more than most people. It's because I feel such a love for this country, for the men and women who do what most of us won't do. And that's what makes you so fascinating and so outstanding that you don't understand, Andrew and Matt. Many of you that I've talked to, like, oh, anybody could do it. And I'd say, no, you don't understand. If I were in your situation, I'd find the darkest corner in Afghanistan or wherever I was, and I would hide there because you think that anybody can go out and do it. And it's not true. You don't understand that. And I try to say that to them. You don't like to be called heroes. They tell me that over and over again. Don't call me a hero. I did what I had to do. Yeah. But you're doing what over 99% of us won't do.
Well, we appreciate the hell out of that. Tina, would you mind if we opened up the phone lines? I think we have some people that might want to ask a question. I've got one. Sure. We have one that came in. This is my mother. She's huge supporter. Her name is Rebecca. She lives in North Carolina.
We were talking about that earlier, weren't we? Was I talking about it with you, Matt, that your mom will call if no one else?
Yeah, that's whenever we open up the lines.
She's the morale booster. This,
Yeah.
Okay, there's people listening, Matt. You're doing a great job. You too, Andrew.
Thank you so much. So listen, my mom also, Tina, what is your thoughts about kneeling during the American anthem being played? Good question.
I know you're right. As an American citizen, I don't like it because, again, I feel like I do with the flag that so many people have given everything, their lives. How many of these veterans that are wounded, I used to ask, I don't ask it so much anymore, but I used to ask all the time, would you do this again?
Yes.
Yes, I would do it again. And in fact, yesterday I spoke with, and I talked to you guys a little bit about this with Noah Galloway.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he brought it up where he said, somebody asked me, if you could go back in time, what would you do different? And do you know what? It was not his traumatic injury. It was not losing his arm and a leg.
Yeah.
What was it?
Sorry for the, well, you know what? I can't remember.
But it wasn't that, right?
But it wasn't that.
That's right.
It
That's what we need to know.
But excuse this, it blows me away every time when these veterans have gotten blown up, and they will tell you. So please don't think, if you are not in the military or haven't talked to a lot of veterans, you probably think it's really awful of me to use that in such a funny way. But veterans who get blown up are the funniest people, and they will come right out and say, I got blown up.
Yep.
using that humor and light-sidedness survive.
It is what it is.
Of it, yeah.
So yes, I know what you're right. If you don't want to stand during the national anthem, do I agree with it? No.
Well, that's all right. That's good. If you got any questions for Tina, myself, or Matt, give us a call, 410-773-9858. Tina, this has been a great experience for us. I hope that this has been an enjoyable one for you and Mike and the kids in the background. I love the live audience. Matt?
I think I've almost started crying about 15 times during this whole process. So
is that good or bad?
It's great. I'm glad Andrew likes to talk, because we probably would have been just sitting here because I don't know. I can't say enough wonderful things about you, Tina. I'm grateful that you're here, and I'm grateful that you are a part of our country and a part of our world, and sharing your light with everybody. And
now you're part of the Disarranged Network, and we really
absolutely. Can I put a plug in for my podcast then? Where to go?
I was just about to tell you. I'm gonna give you the stage is all yours.
Okay.
I want you to plug. I'm gonna give you the whole screen, Tina. So this is your moment.
Oh my goodness!
Get ready.
Much. Do I look okay?
You look great. So listen, I want you to plug your show. I want you to tell our audience that's listening now and whoever tunes in later where they can find you, how they can find you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you, Matt and Andrew. My podcast is We the People, Our American Story. You can find it by going to www.wethepeopleouramericanstory.com. On that page, you will be able to find your favorite podcast platform. And I am also on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. I will be starting season 5 on September 2nd. I post these every Friday. Matt and Andrew are part of this lineup. I have a fabulous lineup for season 5. I love speaking to patriots. I love hearing the stories of our veterans, of our first responders, of those that have given so much. And as a plug for this country, can I please just say, stop being afraid. We need more of us to stand up, to say, I love this country, that we support the Constitution. which I didn't even get to talk about. The Constitution, can I say this, is the greatest government document that has ever existed. It is the document that said that we have inalienable rights, not given by a dictator, a king, or a magistrate, but given by God. Upon your birth, you have inalienable rights. Never forget that. I wish people understood how much power that we, the people, have. Because if we understood this power, then we can make this country safe. We can make this country greater than it is already. But I am forever grateful. Oops, sorry, I slapped my hand there. I'm forever grateful for Andrew and Matt. Thank you for having me on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope I get to talk to you soon.
Oh, well, that's a guarantee. Tina, I could listen to you, like literally sit here all night and listen to you. I think I'm going to turn on your podcast tonight just so I can listen to you talk. You're amazing, and I love you. I appreciate everything you've done, and God bless you and your family, and Mike, and your girls.
He's holding up his thumb like this.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you for the. Make sure he's a like and subscribe too, Tina, on our end.
I already liked and subscribed. Did you like
Loved
and
it.
subscribe, Mike? Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. No, Tina, listen, thank you very much.
Yes.
This has been a phenomenal experience. We've got a caller.
Oh,
Stand by.
who is it?
Thank you for calling in to Disarrange. This is your host, Andrew. Who am I having the pleasure of speaking with? Hey, Kamala Rodriguez, how are you?
Hey, Carmelo. I love Carmelo. He is the best.
You got to turn up,
Awesome.
Andrew.
Thank you very much for calling in. How are you doing this evening? Can you guys hear him on your end?
Mm-mm.
You're not able to hear him on your end. All right, hold on one second. We're having a little bit difficulty. Where are you calling in from? DC. All right. Well, listen, I'm just north of you, sir. I'm up here in Baltimore.
Can I tell you about Carmelo since we can't hear him right now?
I'm gonna get him on right now. Stand by.
Carmelo was Carmelo. I have kept in touch with Carmelo since he was on the podcast. He will send me text messages about what he's doing in DC. Carmelo is very forthright and honest about the G.I. Joe complex. Remember I told you about that?
Yep.
About feeling like you can do anything and then coming home and being totally lost, and the friends that he lost because of that.
Now we lost Andrew. Speaking of loss. No, the G.I. Joe. Can you hear us, Andrew?
Yeah. I'm trying to switch our mic over.
I can just keep talking about Carmelo.
No, the G.I. Joe complex.
And Carmelo is a prolific writer. I think he'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but he's written, I think, 4 books. He has one coming out around Halloween.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
But yeah, he talks about, when he was on my podcast, he talked about joining the military, about how it was a safe place for him.
Yeah. And it's funny. Me and you got him, bud?
Yeah, I think so. Kamara, can you say hello to Tina?
Nope.
Nothing? Oh, I'm Kamara, I'm sorry. We're having some difficulties, but listen, we appreciate you giving the call in.
Thank you.
We really do appreciate it. And Tina's telling us some great things about you. I hope you can hear it on your end. For whatever reason, our connection to our live audio has cut out. Again, I don't know why, but I'm having all these technical difficulties this past week. But Kamara, we appreciate you calling in. Thank you very, very much.
It's the nature of the beast.
It is.
It is the nature of the business, Tina. So before the call, that was awesome. First off, we love people to call in. I don't know. I'll have to get this fixed this weekend. But listen, Tina, what I was trying to say before the call came in, thank you.
You're welcome.
From the bottom of my heart, but from both Matthew and I and our network here at Disarranged, you're one of a kind. We appreciate you, and we cannot wait to see what you're going to do with your podcast. And if there's anything that Matt and I or our network can do for you at any time, you let us know. We're here to help you.
Absolutely. And I'm happy to come on anytime. It was a blast. I enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Tina.
Thank
Ladies
you,
and gentlemen, Tina McCafferty, thank you very much.
Take care.
Dude, that was incredible. That was awesome. I'm a little butthurt about the phone stuff. It's the new mic, bud. It's the new mic. Okay.
It's okay.
It's
We'll
a new
get
mic.
it. It's okay.
We got a new mic. We've got interfaces now. We've got some audio upgrades. We're gonna get to it. But what do you think about that one?
Oh man, Tina is a light in a very dark place in our world. And I love her, man. She's awesome. And if you haven't got over to her page, to her website, and listen to her and some of the stories that are told on there, you need to go there tonight, tomorrow, the rest of this weekend. Spend the time and listen. And this is a woman that's doing this just to tell the story of people's love and patriotism for this country, and that can't be said enough how wonderful that is. You know, I mean, just from a veteran, it's amazing. So, did I lose you now?
Dude, no, I'm just over.
Okay.
I'm sitting here trying to figure out this thing
All right,
on the fly. You know me.
Let's
It's gonna bug me.
that's
But
fine.
anyways,
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I'm just saying if your mic's going, I don't want to get dropped again.
No, I know. Listen, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us tonight. This show right here was one of our better shows in the last 5 to 6 months. Thank you, everybody that's tuned in. We are live every Friday, 8 p.m. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. We appreciate your support, and please go support We the People, Our American Story with Tina McCafferty and her awesome family. We're very blessed to have them a part of us. You got any saved rounds, brother?
Everybody there's Bruno.
Bruno.
Everybody have a great
also September, I just want to, before we get out of here, September 2nd, for all you Romeo goers out there, we are hosting a a private event. It will not be broadcast. This will be a virtual studio hosted by Disarranged Talk Show. Remember, a healthy network is a strong network. If you are part of Romeo Battery, 5th Battalion, 10th Marines, and you want to get on a monthly buddy check where we're going to sit down and we're going to start breaking out all the FRC challenges that us veterans go through. We're going to try to identify some of them in each of our buddies, and we're going to be here to try to help and support. Ladies and gentlemen, we are Disarranged. We appreciate your time. We appreciate everything that you do for our network. And until next week, we'll see you around. Have a great weekend. And remember, everybody, a healthy network is a strong network. I'm your host, Andrew Turner. This is my co-host, Matthew Garner. We will see everybody next week. Take care, everybody.
Have a good one.